I uncovered the terrifying secrets of a World War II flamethrower operator's haunted past. I never should have opened that door. It was that simple. But curiosity is a devil that whispers sweet nothings. I was just an ordinary guy, biking home from work, passing the old war museum. The faded sign creaked on its rusty hinges, beckoning like it had a secret to tell. The smell of age and dust hit me like a punch. Inside, darkness clung to the corners, shadows danced on cracked walls. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, a steady thrum of dread. It was cold in there. Too cold for a summer afternoon. I stepped deeper, the wooden floor creaking beneath me. That's when I found it. A display case, shrouded in a thin veil of cobwebs. Inside, a flamethrower, its painted metal glistening with a menace I could feel from across the room. I leaned in closer. My breath caught. A chill raced down my spine. This was more than just a weapon, it felt like an echo of unspeakable horrors that had once been unleashed. I thought I heard whispers. Soft, sinister voices curling around me like fog. I strained to listen, my skin prickled. Was it the wind? Or something far worse? Objects seemed to shift ever so slightly in my peripheral vision. I glanced over my shoulder, expecting something to emerge from the shadows. But nothing was there. Just the flickering fluorescent bulbs overhead. Suddenly, a crash from the back echoed. I froze. The sound clawed at my insides. My heart raced. What could it be? I felt my hands trembling. My instinct screamed at me to leave, but my feet couldn't move. I was glued to the spot, caught between dread and allure, like a moth to a flame. I had to know. I crept toward the sound. Each step echoed loud, too loud. The air thickened with dread, a palpable tension almost choking me. Was it guilt I felt? Or terror? The whispers grew louder, battling with the pounding of my heart. And then I saw it. A shadow loomed at the far end of the room. Tall, dark and moving. I blinked, but it didn't vanish. I felt a scream rise in my throat, but it froze there, lodged like a stone. The air crackled, frustration hissed in my ears. Everything stopped. My breath, the whispers, even the shadows seemed to hold their breath. The figure stirred. I could feel its gaze piercing through the murky dark, locking onto me. My instinct screamed at me to run. I stumbled back, heartbeat thundering in my ears, but then darkness. The lights flickered and went out, wrapping me in an abyss of silence and fear. I couldn't move. My mind raced. I hadn't just uncovered a legacy of war, I'd stumbled into something far more terrifying. Something or someone was waiting for me. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I couldn't see my own hands, let alone what lurked around me. Panic clawed at my throat as I fumbled in my pocket for my phone, praying for even the faintest glow. My fingers were slick with sweat, slipping over the screen as though it were greased. The dread clung thicker than the darkness, a living, breathing thing wrapping around me, squeezing until I thought I might choke. The whispers returned, low and insistent, like a chant rising from the very walls. I had thought them fleeting echoes of my imagination, but there was a tangible quality now, their language a guttural rasp that seemed to seep from the floorboards, twisting around my legs as I stood paralyzed. A whisper I couldn't decipher, but I could feel its malice, a warning, perhaps, an invitation to uncover what lay hidden. Then, a sound, a low groan. My heart stuttered. The figure, the shadow. What if it were a trick of the mind? No, I had felt its presence like a weight on my chest, suffocating, undeniable. I took a breath, summoning what little courage I had left, trying to justify the terror coursing through me. But it didn't matter, fear was the master here. Light flickered back to life, harsh and flashing like an erratic strobe, revealing the room's contents in disorienting flashes. And in one of those glimpses, I saw a figure, but not human in the way I understood. It stood before the exhibit, a hulking mass cloaked in rags, its skin as pale as bone, no eyes, only dark voids that absorbed the light, a mouth continually moving as if whispering into the abyss, but no sound escaped them. My instinct to run surged, igniting my legs with an urgency that propelled me back. I turned, stumbling blindly away from the abomination that seemed to shift even as I looked at it. It felt like the air crackled with malicious energy, thickening around me, as if I had disturbed a nest of memories best left undisturbed. As I darted through the aisles of the museum, the display cases began to resonate with a hollow thud, like a heartbeat unchained from its source. Weapons of war adorned the walls, helmets, rifles, tattered uniforms, but they felt different now. The weight of history hovered around them, pungent and rancid, as if these artifacts were preserving the souls of lost soldiers. With frantic breaths, I pushed through the heavy door that led to the exhibit exit. But it didn't budge. I rammed my shoulder against it, a panic-stricken child throwing a tantrum, while my heart threatened to burst. It held firm, mocking my desperation. The whispers intensified, rising to a fever pitch, competing for my attention, and then I heard laughter. A guttural sound, low and throaty, erupting from the shadows like smoke from the flamethrower display's nozzle. My blood went cold. It wasn't just the whispers, it was something else entirely, a sinister, mocking chorus that surrounded me, engulfing the air in a terrible cacophony. In that moment, my resolve crumbled. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Twisting to face the retreating darkness, a sliver of my sanity faltered. It was then I noticed a glimmer to my left, a faint outline against the wall leading to the basement. A door, cracked ajar, exuding the fetid scent of rot and decay. It resembled an invitation, a last resort to uncover whatever secret slumbered within these haunted halls, but just as I contemplated my next move, the laughter exploded once more, echoing off the walls in a wave of sound that rattled my bones. Straining my ears, I could almost make out words in that laugh: terror, promise, a threat, and then, in a chilling chant that reverberated through the cabinets and display cases, join us. I turned back to the door and it swung open, as if beckoning me into the abyss. Shadows stretched into the light, shifting with sinister intent, pulling me forward as my body betrayed my mind. What lay beneath? A part of me wanted to dive into the unknown, to confront whatever demons lurked there, while another part screamed to escape. In that moment of indecision, the laughter crescendoed, and the lights flickered once more, plunging the room back into darkness. But this time, it wasn't just silence that followed. A whisper slipped through the cracks, a voice that curled around my name like a noose: come to me. And then, the door slammed shut behind me, sealing my fate. The echo of the slamming door reverberated through the air like the muffled gunfire of war. Panic threatened to rip through my chest as I felt the oppressive darkness close in, the very silence writhing around me. Somehow, against my better judgment, I had stepped inside the basement, lured by a whisper that scratched at my resolve, a fracturing promise that felt unholy and eternal. Navigating the unfamiliar ground, my fingers scraped against the cold, rough walls, tracing the contours of the damp stones that seemed to pulse beneath my touch. The scent of decay thickened, smothering the air, mingling with the mustiness of forgotten history. I strained to hear beyond the silence, hoping for a signal, anything that the terror would end. But what filled my ears was heavier than silence. It was a lurking presence, patient and eternal. I pressed forward, the pungent darkness swallowing my senses, and winced as the ground beneath my feet shifted slightly, a subtle tremor that sent a jolt of fear through me. As I stepped deeper, I noticed the walls were lined with photographs, sepia tones and faded black and whites of soldiers and civilians, their faces twisted in despair, some grinning, others weeping. Every pair of eyes seemed alive, haunting the very marrow of my bones. I couldn't rationalize how I felt their weight, but I did, like they were beholden to a darker truth. Suddenly, the flickering glow of an old bulb hummed to life above me. The harsh light gyred into focus, and I was met with a chilling tableau. Shell casings littered the floor, and at the center stood an old workbench strewn with what appeared to be the remnants of various flamethrowers. Components of anguished warfare lay scattered, alongside forgotten mementos, broken toy soldiers, twisted metals, and a tattered leather glove that bore a dried stain of crimson. My stomach churned, and as I stepped closer, touching the glove lightly, a vision crashed over me. I was no longer in the basement, I was transported to a battlefield. The roaring of flames, molten pain seeping into the soil, echoed in my ears. Soldiers' faces contorted in agony flew past me, the screams of the burning echoing with every crackle of flame. Among them, a figure loomed of my soul. I was not merely a spectator. I was wielding the horror of my legacy. The operator's hollowed visage surged before me, a harbinger of choice soaked in blood. Honor your lineage, name. You alone can choose to burn or to save, I screamed, a sound that clawed its way from the abyss of pure angst. No. The void pulled tightly against me, an endless chasm thirsting for all of my grief and fury. But the flames pulsed. Softly in my heart, every flicker reminding me of what kindness dwelled between the ghost-filled souls, the memories of love, laughter, and glimmers of hope. As the frantic shadows lunged, seeking to swallow me in their depths, I grasped the flamethrower tightly. This ends today. I roared, igniting the flames within myself, summoning a fire not born of destruction but of purification. The fiery blaze erupted, casting the shadows back, reddening the air around me in a kaleidoscope hue. I stepped boldly to the edge, releasing the darkness clinging to my lineage. I refuse to burn with you. With every ounce of strength, I directed the flames upward in a brilliant arch, enveloping the specters in warmth rather than bitterness, igniting their anguished screams with the flames of rebirth. Their cries shifted, metamorphosing from furious spirits to forms of luminous light, simultaneously breaking free from eternal torment. I felt the sting of fire purge the prison forged by lost souls as they transformed, emerging now as the memory-laden figures I had once glimpsed, offering me forgiveness rather than vengeance, showing me a new path. And then, the weight of history shattered, but just as the last shadows vanished into the blinding light, I realized I hadn't escaped the truth. While the flames had cleansed the echoes, I would forever be chained to a legacy that whispered through the annals of time. The shadows would linger on the edge of my consciousness, a gentle reminder that every choice tempts the abyss while embracing the light. Alone in the burning brilliance, realization struck with finality as the echoes faded, leaving nothing but quiet reflection. The warmth surged against my skin, familiar yet haunting. Depending on the decisions I made, the horror could return at any moment. I was both their liberator and their bride. And as I stood there, staring into the abyss, I felt a chilling whisper slithering past. You have chosen, name, your legacy is now a raging fire.